Hello, I want to thank you for joining our webinar today. And we're going to be discussing preparing for retirement and then to see if you're ready or what you need to do to get there. So in talking about retirement, it's important to think about, where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? And then, of course, we'll talk about how much money you might need. What do you have? How far can that go? And then you also may want to consider just health issues, like how healthy are you now? What you might need in the future, what kind of health do your parents have? Then you want to take a look at a budget. Now, budget to me is kind of like a dirty word. Budget is not fun, but being over budget is a lot less fun than actually working on your budget. So having a spending plan, where's your money going right now? And are you able to live on the cash flow that you have? Are you saving enough money for retirement? Are you spending more money on stuff that you really need to be? And by looking at the budget and your cash flow, what's coming in or out, which we'll talk about, really can help you to achieve your financial goals. In my career, and I've had my practice for over 20 years, basically the folks that were most successful were ones that really live within their means and save money toward retirement over time. Budget also gives you control over what's going on. It helps to organize your finances. You also can see some opportunities for investing or for doing other things if you have extra money. And then it just helps you to be much more in control of what's going on. Now, there's two different categories of expenses. We have fixed expenses, which ones that are just recurring, and then variable, which change a bit. So, and some of these so fixed expenses, taxes, there are real estate taxes, there are income taxes, all different types, sales tax, all types of taxes that we do pay. Mortgage or rent, that's something you need to pay for every single month. Utilities, insurance, and automobiles. Okay, see, these are some pretty big things, and we want to make sure that we're maximizing the use of these and getting our money out of them, and then like minimizing taxes. So looking at each one and just making sure that you have a good amount of money in your pocket. Some variable expenses are food. Some weeks you might eat out more than other weeks. Clothing, furniture, appliances. These are things, entertainment, vacations, or things that come up that you need to budget for, but they're not kind of normal recurring things. So these are really important to take a look at. The best way to get a handle on all your expenses is to take a look at it at least 3 months worth of expenses in all categories. And it's pretty easy to do now because you can just go and download credit card statements or your bank statement, all that information in Excel, and just look at what is going on financially for you. Then we have the spending side, and then we have the income side. So how much money are you making? Do you have rental real estate? Are you getting Social Security, or do you have pension coming in? There's all different kinds of income out there, and we want to make sure that we're looking at income and expenses side by side to see, what does your cash flow look like? Okay, so, I remember, I tell this story, I had a gentleman come into my office several years ago, and he was in his late 50s, and he wanted to retire. And I said, great. So he actually had this beautiful Excel spreadsheet that he put together. And he had all of his expenses were categorized, and he had his income. And the problem was at the bottom, the expenses were like a few $100s a month more than his income. And you really are not able to do a good projection of what are you going to need for retirement if you're not even meeting your current needs based on what you're making. So important to know what you have. Then the things that income can come from. So what kind of assets do you have? Do you have cash in a savings account or a checking account? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, your house, car, truck, boat, furnishings. What is really on your asset side that you have? And then we look at liabilities. Okay, so do you have a mortgage, car loans, credit cards? Do you owe taxes or any kind of unpaid bills? So we want to take a look at the liabilities and get a sense of your net worth. So assets minus liabilities. And all these different things are components of a good retirement projections. So you need to know these things in order to see if you're really ready for retirement or not. Okay, so net worth also comes into play when you're applying for a loan or you're preparing your will. So, how do you want your assets to be divvied up when you pass away for insurance needs? And also, the net worth can give you a sense of, hey, is my worth more this year or last year or this quarter? It really gives you like a report card as to how you're doing managing your expenses and then also saving money and building wealth. So this is Social Security at full retirement age at different depending on when you were born, they pushed out Social Security a little bit. Okay, and I would expect that some of these changes will probably happen going forward too. They may push it out a little bit more, but this is full retirement age, and when you get to be able to take your full Social Security amount, generally speaking, I think that you want to wait until full retirement age, but everyone is different, and we can help with projections on that if you need them to see what scenarios might be best for you as far as taking Social Security. If you do take Social Security at 62, you'll see that you get a 20 to 30% reduction in the payments that you get every month. And you never really are able to kind of catch that up. Okay, so, it's just something a lot of people say, hey, I've been working for a really long time. If I can take it at 62, I'm going to take it at 62. I really don't care. But there are other things that we need to take into consideration to make sure that is the best decision for you. And what's interesting about Social Security is if I do illustrations for a single person or for a couple, a married couple, basically the difference in taking it at different times for each spouse or for that individual, it can make hundreds of thousands of dollars in difference in what the money that you actually get in. Okay, so we also want to look at, how long you're going to work and those kind of things. If you wait till later, after normal retirement age, each year after that, you get an extra kicker. Okay, so 8% a year in generally. There's also some things with when you're looking at retirement. So if you work when you're getting Social Security, a portion of it is taxable. Okay, so if you take a look, depending on how much you make, none might be taxable or up to 85% is taxable. Okay, so it's important to take a look at that. And in 2020, the earnings limit was $18,240. And if you were over that, you had to pay tax on Social Security that came in. When you go to apply for Social Security, you want a Social Security card, proof of Social Security number, got to have information about where you live, your mortgage, your lease, your landlord's name. I want to take a look at tax returns, W-2 forms, payroll slips, insurance policies, proof of U.S. citizenship, and any other kind of your checkbook and things, because they do send the money, just like a paycheck, they send the money directly into your checking account. So make sure you have that information on you as well. Generally, when you go and apply for Social Security, it takes about 3 months for you to get in the system and to start getting payments. Okay, so it's just good to make sure you're prepared for that. So how much will you need in retirement? So generally, the rule of thumb is 75 to 80% of what you make right now. So just to make it easy, let's say that your household makes $100,000, you're going to need $75,000 to $80,000 a year to live on. Okay, and depending on what you do for work and those expenses, you actually may need everything you make to maintain your same standard of living in retirement. Okay, so we need to take a look at that as well. These are different levels of income during retirement. So what you'll see is that 37% of income in retirement comes from Social Security. You can see the pension side, government pensions, private pensions are becoming a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. In asset income, 15%. Okay, so that really would be more like 401k, things like that. Earnings are people working, almost a third, 30% of people are working in retirement. Okay, so people are making money lots of different ways in retirement, and you have to figure out what works best for you. Some people say, I've never, for me, I love what I do. I don't know that I'll ever retire, but, in 15, 20 years, I may say, hey, you know what, I'm done. So nobody really knows. Or I have a client who unfortunately planned on working until 66 and got really sick at 63. Luckily, she had planned and everything was great. But she luckily had done that, sometimes you're forced to, stop working when you really don't want to. Okay, so we just want to make sure that we're taking a look at different options and preparing properly. So how do you handle your 401k or company retirement plan? So in looking at your plan, being ready for retirement, let's take a look at the allocation. Where's your money invested? The 401k, profit sharing, 403b plans are fantastic for accumulating and growing wealth. Normally, they're not such good vehicles for distributions. So most folks that we work with need to take money out of their 401ks and do take money out of them to live on, and they get like a monthly amount or every other week. It's kind of like a paycheck that comes in every month to cover their expenses. Okay, so we set that up, and that's much easier to do out of an IRA. You really can't do it well at all out of a 401k. There's different reasons for that. And the one thing is that when you have this big chunk of money that's come from your corporate retirement plan where you worked, we want to make sure that it's invested the right way and be careful. The first 2 to 3 years are what are really critical for making sure that you maintain that money. So you want to make sure that you have 2 to 3 years worth of money, if you can, kind of in cash or pretty safe places. One thing we talk about is inflation. And so retirement is going to most likely cost more. There are certain things, like when you think about deflation, you think about like computers. Like I remember, I think I was very lucky. My grandmother, when I was in college, bought me my first like word processing computer. I think it was like maybe $1,500 or something. And now that is basically useless. And the best computers are, get a great computer for like $500. So some things go down in price, but inflation is here, and food, housing, playing golf, cars, vacations, everything costs more. Okay, so you see after 10 years, and generally inflation has been low lately. Since the 1920s, the average inflation rate is 3.22% per year. So we just want to make sure that we're keeping up with inflation with our investments. It's one thing to say, oh, I need $5,000 a month to live on, and you have your $5,000 a month. But $5,000 today, you're going to probably need like maybe 10 grand in 20 years. So, we have to be careful with the planning and making sure that we do not want to run out of money. Okay. Also, how long you get to live. So some people are not healthy and generally don't live as long as normal. And then of course others live way long. Like two of my grandmothers lived into their 90s. So men 84 years old and women 86.5 years old. Another thing is to look at is medical expenses. So medical expenses is projected, Philly does a study pretty much every year. So 65-year-old couple with $285,000 to pay for medical expenses. And that's with Medicare. Okay, this is just like additional stuff. So it does not include nursing home care, which can be a lot of money as well. Okay, so that's one thing that we want to build into the plan as well. And then there's Medicare. There's at 65, everybody gets Medicare. It's not like Social Security where you have to wait. If you take Social Security and you have Medicare, they will take the premiums out of your Social Security before they pay you, give you that money to pay for Medicare. There's 4 parts to Medicare. So we have hospital insurance, medical insurance, Medicare Advantage plan, and prescription drug coverage. Okay, so it is a very good plan. So there are some limitations, but it's really pretty good. So we have the premiums, Part A, usually $0, Part B, again, $144 to almost $500 a month. And that is going to kind of change, and it's based on your income, how much you pay. Okay. C and D vary by plan. And there's also a Medigap policy that really helps. There's some holes in the Medicare program. So Medigap, which is what you would really want to have too, just as a supplemental insurance, and you can find out more about these websites too. Okay, long-term care insurance. So long-term care is really someone who's concerned about paying for nursing home or home health care. It's anything like that. So Medicare does not pay for long-term care insurance. Okay, so, and Medicaid does, but most people, need to plan for long-term care things that can happen. Okay, so it's something to think about, and it's something to consider when you're thinking about retirement and your financial future. There's some long-term care resources. There's some worksheets that we have that I sent out before the webinar that you can kind of take a look at to kind of get you prepared for retirement. If anyone is listening to this webinar afterward and you would like copies of these, just say, "Are you ready for retirement?" Paperwork, or worksheets, you can email me. I'll give you my email address, and we're happy to send these out to you. So when you think about your retirement timeline and getting ready for retirement, at 50, you can make catch-up contributions. Okay, at 59 and a half, there's no more tax penalties on early withdrawals. So that's great. You can take money out if you need it. I recommend keeping it in as long as possible. But at age 62, you could start taking Social Security. 65, you take Medicare, and then age 66 to 67 is full retirement age. And then the next thing is age 72. This used to be 70 and a half, but last year it turned to 72. That's when you start taking minimum withdrawals from your IRAs, retirement accounts, annuities, and things like that. Okay. So this just goes through the different worksheets. So you can work through these and see, to kind of build a plan for yourself and looking at expenses and all that. So this is really important stuff to take a look at as you're moving forward and planning for retirement. Here are some websites that are super useful. Social Security, Medicare, IRS, Profit Sharing Council of America for retirement plans. And as you know, anything that we've talked about today is just general information. Everybody's so different that, we don't know. I was actually listening to another advisor, and it's so true. For one client, you could say one thing, and another one you could say the complete opposite because the situations are so different. Okay. So here's my email address. And if you have any questions or if we can help, please feel free to reach out, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.